Okay, it's a little bit after 7. We'll call the meeting to order. Colin's not here yet, but we'll get going. Hopefully he'll show. I'll suspend the meeting to open up public comment on the first on the agenda for public comment. We have Trevor. Trevor, yeah, just come right up to the podium there. There's a microphone there, and just state your name and address for the record, please.
Trevor Knight, 28 Sunny Ridge Parkway. Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Trevor Knight. I've been a lifelong resident of Trumbull, and I'm here today to speak about bringing back open recreation time in town. So when I was growing up and even into my early adult years, I was fortunate enough to enjoy open recreation hours during the week at various middle and elementary schools. It was a great opportunity to stay active, connect with others, and just have fun in a safe local space. Unfortunately, since the COVID-19 pandemic, those opportunities have seemingly disappeared. So during the winter, at least that I found, Trumbull doesn't have many options for indoor recreation outside of organized sports or pretty much like the mall. So open gym time provided something different. It gave people of all ages a place to gather, play basketball, enjoy being active without needing to join a league or pay a membership fee. It was flexible, only a few hours on select nights, but it made a big difference for the community. Some of the better relationships I have made were with people that I've met at open recreation. So this is an opportunity to be open and free with peers from the town. So currently the only local options are in sports, and in sports often have leagues and competitive play, and both facilities charge for access. That limits participation for people who just want casual recreation. With all the facilities the town already has, whether it be the 5 elementary schools or the 2 middle schools, it feels like there's a real opportunity to bring this back. It would give residents a healthy, affordable outlet to promote physical activity instead of just sitting on your screen all night. I understand there may be some logistical challenges or scheduling conflicts, but I'd be more than happy to work with the commission to explore possible solutions. I'm passionate about seeing Trumbull residents have the chance once again to enjoy open gym time for basketball or any other sports. Yeah, and I thank you for your time and consideration on this.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. Any questions for Trevor? Nance?
I would like to say, Trevor, I agree with you. I know my husband and children spent many hours at Open Rec, and I actually hadn't realized it had sort of disappeared.
Yeah, so ever since COVID, they kind of got rid of it, and it would be like 3 hours, 3 days a week. They would do it at Tashua, I believe maybe Jane Ryan, but I know Tashua, Booth Hill, and then on Fridays they would do it at Hillcrest from 5 to 8. So it's like a pretty good opportunity. The spaces aren't huge, but it was something. And it was just fun. There'd be kids there, either getting work in kind of early, and then maybe some teenagers or really people of all ages. I mean, I played against some guys that came in. There was a group of 5 of them, and they were all in their late 50s, and they would put the work in on us too for basketball, I might add. So it's just like something fun that everybody could do. It was free. It was casual. You show up, come for a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. The games would be pretty good. At least when I went, there would be like a sign-up sheet so that there would not be any arguing with order. Be able to be pretty democratic about it. Yeah, it was a super fun time. Some sort of indoor activity would be just much appreciated during this time.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. I've heard a couple people have mentioned this to me as well, and the interest in bringing it back. Was it generally basketball, or were there ever other?
They
activities?
said that you could do different sports. I just know that basketball was the easiest to set up, just because the custodians, I also heard they would do volleyball, but that would just have the custodians need to put up the nets. So I definitely know basketball, and there would be opportunities for other sports. I always thought that they could really do it well and do different sports on different nights. But of course, depending on the facilities, the kind of staffing that they would have, obviously those represent some of their own issues, but typically just basketball.
Got it. And you said it was kind of a range of ages?
Yeah, there'd be like kids there. I mean, as young as like 6 years old, just working on dribbling a basketball. I mean, a lot of teens, just 13 up to like high school, and then it, would get 20s, 30s, again, up till 60s. So, quite a range.
Great, thank you.
Rodney?
Not necessarily a question for you, Mr. Knight, but maybe for Kevin and Dimitri. Is that a Board of Ed thing because it's through the schools, or how does that work? Because I remember going to these two as a young kid, and then as an adult, we would, get the guys on the group text and figure out who's in and go show up, and same thing, run for as long as we could. But yeah, usually no more than like 45 minutes.
Exactly.
I grew up going up to rec probably many nights more than I probably should have been home studying, but there were no text messages. But we would go to Madison, and there'd be 50, 60 people in that gym. It was Madison Junior High at that time. And then they'd have it at Hillcrest on Saturday mornings. It was all over. It was great. But times have changed, and there's so many activities and so many groups. I know the gym space is at a premium now, and I think that's the problem. Dimitri, has rec ever done anything where they've taken, like, could a possibility be rec go out and find hours throughout the week and then make it a recreation program? And even if people pay a nominal fee, but they're on a list and they go, and then it's run through us and it's more of a formal thing. Could that be a possibility?
Well, there's a number of different concerns that sort of rose up over the last few years. So open rec is both a security issue for the Board of Education in a lot of ways. They always want to know who's there in open rec by its general historic existence as you just drop in and you just have a good time. There are mechanisms that you could get registrations when they show up, but that means some staff has to be there. So there would be other elements to have some form of staffing there to be able to pull that through. Obviously, it's a de minimis cost, but it is a cost. And the other piece of it is, which I'm sure all of you can speak to, is that gym time throughout has exploded. I mean, we have I'm Dimitri, by the way. I'm the park superintendent.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. We have a heck of a time securing space just for, regular recreation programs. We have to wrestle for it. So having just open, free time, it has sort of presented itself as a challenge to us, and that open rec having some of those other issues along with it was a casualty of that. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't any other solutions out there. You can always revisit anything and see what has changed and what's possible. But I'm just giving some the highlight reel of how we ended up from a much enjoyed activity in the community in years gone past to essentially no longer having a space. So I'm sure we could look into something. I just don't know if there is actually a mechanism to implement again.
And I've kind of thought about this, especially with like volunteer hours, because I know that Trumbull High does have the requirement for volunteer. That being said, do I want a bunch of high schoolers running an event with maybe over 50 people coming to it? Probably not, but still opens the potential of some of those volunteer hours. Like I know I myself, and maybe I'm in the minority, but would love to even volunteer for something like that. Again, trying to get the scheduling and what that would look like, that's something that we would have to discuss and kind of look into. Yeah.
In all honesty, I mean, as I said, there is nothing that can't be revisited. We can't look into different possibilities, but the impediments that we have faced as the recreation department, has been made very clear that we're using all of this space, and where are we going to find this little carved out spot that is consistently available for the traditional open rec, number one, and the other is to satisfy the security piece of it, because you were delicately kind of saying, do we want to have a bunch of high school volunteers running 50 people in our public school system? you're probably not is a no way from
Yeah,
the BOE,
Absolutely.
and understandably so. But there may be individuals who could pick up that mantle. Again, what that looks like today is not obviously what it could actually have looked like in years gone by. But I'm more than happy to reach out to you and have our staff talk about some of the various options and see how it floats for availability and the Board of Education's consideration.
Perfect. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So what's his next step? Should he hook up with Noreen or pardon me?
Sorry, buttons. There we go. We have all of your email communications.
Yeah, I believe
all that
it
stuff.
was in the agenda for today.
If
I
it's in
believe
the
it was right in
agenda,
there.
what we'll do is we'll reach out to you. I'll have Noreen reach out to you, and we'll just sort of start to filter through it and see what we come up with.
Sounds great.
I hope it comes together. But I can't make any promises.
Hey, I mean, as long as we look into it, that's all we can do.
Let's hope we can do more.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thanks for coming. Okay, we have a motion to move back to the regular meeting. Motion, second. Okay, Bruce, all in favor? Okay, back to the regular meeting. Acceptance of minutes. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the monthly minutes of September? Because that's when our last meeting was. No? If none, do we have a motion to approve? Nance? Second by Deb. All in favor? Okay, minutes approved. Correspondence. We got 2 items of correspondence. The first was from Trevor, who presented tonight. The second was from a woman who was interested in starting. Dimitri, it is a 5K trail run. A woman who was interested in that, and she is going to come next month. Abby spoke with her and gave her some brief information of things that we were going to be asking. She was going to be looking into those things for the month, and she'll come back again next month. So that's nothing that we need to bring up at this point in time. We'll table it to next month. Okay, moving on to old business. Anybody have anything on old business they want to bring up? Nance?
Did anything get resolved with the parking issue at Beach? All the trouble they, yeah, there was some talk of the misbehavior down at that beach parking lot. Yeah, and then 2 women showed up who were really concerned. They referred to that fire and such. And Matt was offering some alternatives, but we were wondering if the cameras, are they helpful or?
So, we certainly experience and understand the frustrations of the Old Dyke neighbors. There have been a lot of, I suppose the nicest way I can describe it is shenanigans going on in that area for quite some time. A lot of it is quite frankly, straight up vandalism. And they've been, facing the brunt of that for a good number of years. But it does fluctuate. The solutions that, to a lot of their concerns has sort of focused in on as the beach's parking lot. And a lot of effort has gone into trying to, isolate that and to ensure that that isn't the home for, people to congregate and to do damage. I don't know if that's accurate, from my perspective. But with that in mind, we did put in, there's 5 cameras in the parking lot right now. They've been there for a very long time. We have pictures of the fire, as a matter of fact. But the various ways, or I think the conceit that if we close the parking lot off, it would prevent these individuals from continuing to do the mischief that they've been involved with. We heard that it's like somebody went into Beaches and they lit off fireworks. That is true technically, but it was 2 little boxes they could have gotten at at the nearest filling station, and no harm, no foul, and they could have done that anywhere. And if you gated the parking lot, you could have walked around the gate. I mean, there's no necessity to have a vehicle to walk in there and light off a Roman candle. It's just it's missing the cause, the problem, and the solution if we're looking at it from those terms. It's escalated to we're going to build berms, we're going to put fences. I don't think it warrants any. I don't think it warrants any of it. If the town had the desire to close the park, I mean, really close the park, we could do that. But there has been so much pushback on all fronts to close down Beach Memorial Drive as a cut through, that I don't see that happening. And every other method is leaving this corridor open and trying to, put up fences, guardrails, gates, berms, rocks, trees right around the parking lot that we already have difficulty getting people in and out of. So I don't know what the practical solution for the problem is, but I'm more than happy to.
Have cameras caught any of this
The
shenanigans?
The shenanigans, the mischief? No. And quite frankly, I mean, there's enhanced lighting in the parking lot itself. I mean, it's vastly different. I got to pull it up on my phone right now if you'd like. It's vastly different. And we can keep an eye on something that is, really going off the rails. But as with all of our surveillance throughout the town, we don't have somebody monitoring it 24/7. It's more a reaction and see if we can get evidence and information for something that that occurred. But in that moment, it's very unlikely. The greatest tool that any of our residents ever had was get on the phone and call the police right then and there. And if they are unable to dispatch, they will dispatch our rangers. And they do.
Do they make periodic
Constantly.
drive-bys? Okay.
Yeah, the Trumbull PD all night long. I mean, the chief a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago, started to regularly direct patrols, all the way down Beach Memorial Drive, just essentially, a cursory check patrol. And our own staff has that on their route up until, morning until they close the parks themselves. But there's always going to be a window. That's the part where I say I don't know how we would be effective in stopping somebody. The beefeater at the gate. It's like we don't have a system like that to prevent it. Anything that we leave alone, somebody could walk around, drive over, drive through, and you have something else to care for. So.
Have there been incidents, to your knowledge, in the last month or so?
No. It absolutely was much worse, and the concern that was being generated was warranted. It was pretty out of control. It really was. A number of the individuals associated with the behavior we've known for years, and honestly, they've been plaguing the park system forever. A lot of them have grown up, gone away, come back, and you get a new batch, along the way. But I always try to look at what level of damage, and harm any of this type of activity is. A 2-second donut costs us thousands of dollars in turf repair in a second, and I can't do a thing about it because it's 5 seconds, and we don't have. They just did that last week up at Indian Ledge. We just finished a landscaping area. They went into it, and off they go. See you later. Ha ha.
No cameras on that?
There's almost 2,000 acres of something I could have a camera on. It's ultimately impractical. You could see a car come up. Did they turn left? Did they turn right? They get on camera. They're off camera. It's it would have to be a prolonged or a concentrated activity in an area. And honestly, I mean, there are areas I'm quite confident that putting up the guardrails. I mean, you guys have been with me on that journey for, 15 years or more. It's like we got to do something, or else they're going to drive into our fields, and they're going to, and we haven't had a major incident of vandalism, in our ball fields since, because I mean it's a solid practical way to keep them off. If there is a way to do it at beaches, you got me. I don't know how to do it. It's not like any other location. We need access points just for regular maintenance. We need access points for ambulances when they come into the parks. So if you're going to build it, all of those other things have to regularly and consistently work. If you all know Beach Memorial Drive, you're coming down that long serpentine path and that last dog leg where people love to just keep going straight when they have to kind of bear to the left. Well, the other thing that they often do is they don't stop at the bottom either, especially in winter. So you come on down there, and we're going to build a berm and a wall and a rock and a gate, and guess where they're going to be? And a berm and a wall and a rock is guaranteed where they're going to be. And so I think of it from those perspectives. I can't rebuild that park other than to shut it. I can shut it. I've even got gates built to shut it. We built them years ago when we had some of the real bad storms, where we would have to close down Beach Memorial Drive, because that's a bad one. People naturally try to go through there. And if you're ever doing any cleanup efforts, you can put as many cones and cars and anything, they'll just drive around you. Our thought was like, look, you're going to get killed here. We're going to close the park. We just never got around to installing them. And then when this came up, we brought it up again. It's like, we could do this inside of less than a week. They would be there. It's like, you will not do that. Like, okay, message received. That's from the administrative level, from the from the police department.
That does seem extreme.
From one perspective, I get it. On another, it's like there was a time that Twin Brooks was closed too. I mean, was open all the time too, and now it's closed every day. So you could do it if the level of damage warrants it. Cost benefit of the convenience of Beach Memorial Drive versus the cost of something far more elaborate. I don't know if that exists. I don't know if that helped, but one man's opinion.
Matt had brought up closing the park. I don't think these women were asking for that.
She said they didn't want that.
Yeah,
no,
right.
they don't. They
Right.
want they have a belief that we're going to close the parking lot, but it's much easier if we were just there. But it's like, you could get in through here. You could drive your car through there. You could end up in exactly the same place all around, the fortifications that you might build around that parking lot just as easily, and it'd be that much harder to manage the park in the end. It isn't any guarantee, and you will have a complicated mess and cost in which to do it. You would have to physically put up barriers along long distances, probably from the bridge all the way to the stop sign that we're talking about. You'd have to lock that entire area off, if you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. But we just felt bad for these, because there have been other people, neighbors come before. Yeah.
Like I said, there are various points where they have been really affected significantly. I haven't heard anything in months and months and months, and some of the things that have triggered some of their more recent concerns have been, to me, insignificant. When they're really doing damage, I can recognize damage. The gas station Roman candle is no such thing. I mean, it's just not.
Okay. All right, thanks, Dee, on that point. Anything else on the old business? I think we had a woman here our last meeting she was interested in putting a dog stick library at the dog park. Did she get in touch with you on that?
Yeah, we approved a design, and where we thought it might work, we recommended that they actually install it on the pavilion in the dog park itself. It's the only area that we really thought where that kind of thing could work. So if they wanted to build it and it was structurally consistent with the design that they offered, they want to put some sticks in there and keep it there for some fun.
That's a great idea.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Let them have fun.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. I'm glad she got in contact with you.
Yep.
Anything else? Anybody else? Just anything on a pool? Just to hit you with. I haven't heard anything about the pool committee or where that's been.
Pool? No. No. I think the town has been struggling through a lot of building initiatives in the last year plus, and I think the pool is well off to the side. All of the challenges that, all of the things that the town is struggling with to build would be just amplified with a pool. Where would it go? What would it cost? How would you use it? How would it be accessed? I know that there's no intention for it to go back to Hillcrest in any iteration that I've heard. That would only make things even more crazy up there. And I sincerely don't know what property they would have available to them, to build a freestanding pool facility. From a recreation standpoint, I'd love it. It would make our lives tremendously easier to have an indoor pool again, but nothing in a practical sense that I've heard.
Okay. All right. Anything else under old business? Bruce, you have anything? No? I thought you were reaching for your mic. Okay, under new business. So basketball, you guys, you know what? On the correspondence, I don't see his email, or do you have? I don't see it on this correspondence here. So maybe make sure you give that to D or send it to D, because I don't see it here under this letter. Okay. And then, Dimitri, you want to explain maybe what went on with the lacrosse that we were unaware of that we may have to vote on?
No problem. Yeah, so the organization Live Free contacted the Trumbull Youth Lacrosse because they wanted to host a lacrosse event. They've done the sports events before, but they essentially reached out just as kind of like to consult on how they would run it format-wise and so on and so forth. So after talking with a couple members of the TYL board, myself and my counterpart at the high school girls program were contacted because they were looking to run a tournament, and they kind of fell on it would essentially need to have high school players involved with this from a coaching perspective, a referee perspective, etc. So for the boys side of the high school, we do 3 events every year. One is just a straight up fundraising event. One is a team event. We usually go to an NCAA game that's local. We take a bus there during the season and go. And then the third is a philanthropic event. So that's anything that we could do to give back to the community, or donate money to organizations, whatever it is. This seemed like a fantastic opportunity for our philanthropic event for the year. As a number of our players, the high school level on both the boys and girls side, volunteer in the summer, in the fall, in the winter, and the spring, year round, to help, with younger players in town and things like that. So this was right down our alley. Once we kind of spoke about it and figured out what this was, essentially the high school programs were running the tournament, but we have no platforms or or quite frankly, manpower or capacity to bring in registrations, hold on to monies, right? We're two 501c3s that are run by parents. Live Free obviously has, as a charity, they have their own website, they have the ability to do registration, et cetera, et cetera. So the high school coaches, Kelly Metzger actually filled out the fundraising form that goes through BOE to put on a fundraising event. And as a result of that, the Live Free tournament is at both McDougal and the Cork Turf Field and scheduled currently for November 22nd. I recently was told that this was an issue, and obviously speaking with Dimitri, I fully understand as far as our policy is concerned, with it being a fundraising event where an organization would be bringing in monies, right? That would be something that falls under that. But again, we were talking, and I guess the whole point of where it gets to be a conversation and a potential vote would be if the high school programs were able to collect money and run a registration for the people who are involved, we would have just collected all the funds and then donated money to Live Free. But because we don't have that capacity, the manpower, the software, any of that, Live Free is currently has the registration for the event, and all of the high school players, including parents for both boards who have collaborated together and figured out how to run concessions, how to format the tournament, how to officiate and coach and run the little clinics that are involved with this. That's how it's currently set up. So, like I said, this is all very new information to me that this was an issue, because I was under the impression that because we filled out that form and it went through BOE, and because it was a fundraiser for the high schools, that it was all above board. But that's the summary of where we're at right now. So I don't know if anyone wants to discuss it. Dimitri, if you want to give any more information, please do. But that's where that is right now.
So we've had a couple of conversations really within the last year regarding the parameters and the rules regarding tournament plays, clinics, whatever. That it's an unusual and a difficult situation to get your hands around, and there are many different formats and individuals who can be involved with them, from Trumbull Little League and all of the layers that come from really not Trumbull Little League, but the district, but the whatever. A tournament and a tournament and a tournament, however you want to call it, by definition of our policy, separates things in a very binary way. There is scholastic programs, and scholastic programs, in the way that the policy was crafted, is that the town recognizes the scholastics programs as a tier 1 level group for purposes of field access. So if it exists, they can have it. But it was always defined as the scholastic program. So what can you call the scholastic program? So as a novice, I believe it's track and it's baseball and it's the things that are actually run. But it may be more. And it sort of drifts over into something like this. It's like, well, now they're into fundraising. Now, it's not necessarily money just for the scholastic program. Now there's another group that is, they're not co-sponsoring, they're assisting in it, but they're also, on some level, profiting from it. Live Free has been here many, many times, and I understand, what they do, and they do it very well. But they look for opportunities to actually, generate income. And if they're able to generate income off of our properties, the things that the town, Trumbull taxpayers, puts resources in to create and maintain. I, at the very least, believe that they should, or any of the groups, based on the field use policy, at least pay the rate associated with using our field properties. We can discuss all day long as to, what is a scholastic program and how far you can stretch that, that definition. But if it's a tournament, it's a tournament, it's a tournament. And that's not I think the spirit of the original field use policy, and what that it's free because we're the Board of Education gets you. It isn't. There has been over the years, some confusion. You're filling out we're holding something on the property, and that's true. That does exist as a Board of Ed, a requirement. But it in some ways it runs headlong into the field use policy, and we pay for those fields. I mean, there's no dancing around it. I don't need to shy away from it. It's well within our budget. We fight for it, and we work on it tirelessly all the time. And I try to separate, anything else other than this is our charge. This is what we're responsible for. We either do it well or we don't. And I hope that all your perspective is that we do okay. That being the case, if you want to use them, and we define it as a money-making venture, I think that the town rightly should receive some small compensation for the use of the property. It isn't for me to decide. That's my interpretation.
No, but that compensation should be whatever the field use fee is,
Yes.
which is a nominal fee to.
Even at the
To just rent
tournament
the
rate,
field.
it's like nothing. 4 hours at McDougal, if it was $150, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
To me, it's nothing, and maybe that's a lot to an organization.
Well, we do need to remain consistent, because basically you have a Trumbull Youth Lacrosse and a fundraising corporation that has no affiliation with the Board of Ed, except there's high school players.
Yeah, so Trumbull Youth Lacrosse is nothing except for they contacted them to see what they could do. Like, how would this look or work formatting wise? There's no connection whatsoever with Trumbull Youth Lacrosse. So like Trumbull Youth Lacrosse has put up the flyer, but if you were to click the flyer or go there, it would just bring you to the Live Free site, and the high school is running the tournament. They're hosting it, manning it, staffing concessions, doing everything, which is all fundraiser for the high school programs, girls and boys. So the youth program has nothing to do with it, except that they were contacted just because if you wanted to do anything for lacrosse in town, you'd probably reach out to that organization and just see, hey, how would I do this? What do you think? But outside of that conversation, there's no skin in the game for TYL with this. So as of right now, it's the high school boys and girls high school programs and Live Free. That's all that is.
I'm just thinking of precedent setting. What's to keep them from hitting every sport now, and then using all our fields? And
Well, Live Free actually wanted to do a tournament. Was it softball? I think it was. I think it was softball. I mean, they got washed out, but they wanted to do that, and then we just charged. Jesus, we just charged them for the field time. I mean,
and that's how it's always been. I'm just wondering why
Right.
why is it different? And in this case, they just didn't come to us first.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know the individuals that Live Free. I mean, with any organization, there's turnover, and individuals don't know all the players. And I think it's a natural assumption to some. It's like, well, we're going to do it at the Board of Ed because that's the field we see. I don't know. I mean, anything other than that is conjecture, and it's meaningless on my part. I'm just trying to relay that. How should we deal with this? I mean, I certainly don't want to be the guy saying no to this, especially this late in the game. I don't know how to do it. And
No,
still,
I don't think anybody wants to do.
I
don't think
don't.
anybody wants to do that.
I don't, but I also don't I also don't, as you say, want to set precedent, nor do I want to give, the wrong impression to anybody, whether it be, internally or anybody who, looks at Trumbull and goes, hey, why don't we run a tournament down there? They got some nice fields. That message has to find a way, to them. And I mean, we didn't know anything about it until, we do a lot of, searching and seeing what's going on, and all of a sudden this popped up. I'm like, wait a minute, what's being booked out on the fields? And then we sort of, reverse engineer it and like, what's this? where did this come from? So under most circumstances, we would unearth it anyway. But what do we do about it moving ahead? As I think we've all said, we've got days before this. They've advertised for it, whatever, and I'm not getting rich, and nor is the town's revenue stream going to hit the golden ticket if we collect this fee this late in the game. But I do think it's important that we establish that this was, the incorrect manner to go about this, and that we should do everything in our power not to. At some point, if it comes back our way, will we be more prepared to say, I'm sorry, but you have to come before us and go full bureaucracy, or just hit them up for the service fees. I don't know, but letting it go not addressed, I think, is a bigger mistake.
So two things here, and personally wearing 3 hats, right? Part of this commission, coach at the high school, involved with TYL. Whatever needs to be done to keep everything above board and to keep things consistent with our policy, we want to do that, 100%, right? So that's first and foremost. The other piece of this pertaining to Live Free, upon finding this out this morning, that there was some complications with it, because we filled out Kelly Metzger filled out the fundraising policy for the high school team and was submitted to the athletic department at Trumbull High School. Once that happened, they booked the fields, and we were told we're good. So everything has been, up until this morning, okay, as far as we know. But I actually spoke to Jim McCaffrey, who's one of the directors of Live Free, this morning. He is in Maine, and he was telling me that he was going to get in his car and drive down to come speak at the meeting. And I said, Jim, we'll figure it out. If the board has to vote on it, and whatever the decision is, we'll figure it out. Don't drive from Maine and end whatever you're doing with your family to come here. We'll make it right, and it'll all work. But yeah, the series of events essentially was the idea for the tournament came about. The high school girls and boys program thought it would be a great fit for the philanthropic event for the season. Using it also as a fundraiser for our programs, with concession and obviously volunteering the time so it happens. And that's where we are. We just didn't. Yeah, we didn't have the capacity to take in money and keep track of registrants ourselves. Live Free does, and that's how we got there. So, however everyone wants to proceed.
One more. How many teams and how long are they using the field? Only 4 hours? Or is there a schedule that it?
Yes, so the registration for this is currently open, because I obviously, myself and Kelly, have to figure out the staffing and confirm how much food we need and things like that. The last check, or the last information we were given, which was recently, was 86 people. Ranges from U8 to adult high school. and the times that they were saying based on the amount of people was, I believe, 1 to 5:15. Originally, the space was booked noon to 6, but that was just with the buffer, and that was for McDougal and the Cork Turf. I believe they're looking now with the numbers that we currently have to run the tournament Cork and McDougal from 1 to 5 for both. 4 hours. So 4 hours for 2 fields. Yep. And about a third of the registrants are adult or high school students, because my players are going to be working. So yeah, about a third of that number is either adults or high school students.
So money-making events that happen with high school teams, is that something that always goes through the Board of Ed? Or is it something that's just kind of out there and you guys take in money? I mean, like all the teams, I'm not really sure how the approvals happen and what goes
So
on with
there's a Board of Ed fundraising form that needs to be filled out for fundraising events. We filled
that. And those forms say that the money's going to that specific team or to a third party. That's kind of where I'm having the disconnect.
So the money would be if you're filling out one of those forms, it would say you basically put on what you're projected as the high school organization to bring in from this event. So that would be the money put on there. We knew after discussing that we wouldn't be able to take the money in for registration. So we put on what our projected budget would be with fundraising, with essentially the concessions, and then the staffing for all intents and purposes would be volunteering, but that would be in order for the event to run so that we could have concessions and be able to sell food and drinks to
But the budget
85
part,
plus.
as you said, does the Board of Ed reimburse for that? I mean,
Like if we don't hit the number?
no, like you're saying that you put down what your budget is, right? That the budget that you need to operate the event, or where's that coming from? That's
No, that would come out of our pocket.
Okay.
So that would come out of any operational costs would come out of our pocket. The number we put on there would be, what are we looking to make from this fundraiser?
The Board of Ed never reimburses or has a hand in giving money to events like this, right?
No,
As far as
outside
you know?
outside of the first selectmen's tournament, but that's its own thing. No, as far as I know, we've never had any operational costs refunded for fundraising events.
Taking the concessions and.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just wanted to see if, like, the Board of Ed was also putting.
So the high school's basically filling out the form, getting all the registration fees, and then on their own, then donating that to Live Free.
So we're not getting the registration fees. We wanted to do that. That was the original, hey, this would be the best way to do it to make it work the best. But we don't have the platform. We don't have the manpower
to say that. Okay.
to bring the money in, to keep track of the registrants.
All right.
We don't have it. Like I said, the girls and boys are two separate 501c3s that completely live and die based on any fundraising efforts. So if we have one bad year of fundraising or something goes awry, we're tight. So anything that we could do is huge for us. And that's why, like I said, we thought this was right up our wheelhouse, something that our boys and girls at the high school do all the time, volunteering to help with younger players. And this kind of, I don't know, it seemed like a great opportunity, and it fit kind of checking all of our boxes. But again, the meeting point of where I think this got to a conversation that needed to happen was that we're unable. We don't have the means to bring in registration, to bring in the monies like that, and then run this ourselves in house with the amount of information and data you'd need.
Would that really change anything if they had all that information and were doing it that way? Like what we're discussing, like moving forward in the future world, what's to stop other outside organizations from coming to a high school team and saying, hey, do this for us? And And that's kind of like a backdoor around field use policy.
Yeah.
Mike King should probably.
So I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I
does,
can't
does that
speak.
change anything? Like if they were taking in the money?
If we do approve this, you could approve, you could vote on it subject to the field use policy. So,
That should be everything.
right, but it's the horse is already out of the barn. That's the problem here. Do you-
I think the horse left town, but but I wonder if it's the disconnect at the Board of Ed side with, I mean, they're very officious. They do everything, on paper. They have everything on records. Everybody's filling out everything. We went to the bathroom, and it's stamped. But there may be no understanding that the town actually is managing those fields and has its own set of regulations around it. Now, if it was incorporated at that level, it's like, hey, Board of Ed, we want to do this thing. That's great. And oh, by the way, subject to the terms of the field use policy, beta, yada, yada, yada. Go see the park commission, see what you think. Happy days, goodbye. That may be the interception point, so that somebody who could honestly state that they were ignorant of any of these rules at whatever level they come at, if they came to us, we would know. If they go to the Board of Ed, they may not. Maybe that's where we have to work at trying to get that information inserted so that it doesn't happen again. I would have thought Mike would have understood that, but my conversation with him was, he was completely clueless, like, this wouldn't apply to us. I'm like, well, I think it does, respectfully, I think it does. It doesn't apply to you, at least in my interpretation of the policy, but this particular construct, this is there is an outside organization who is utilizing town property in some way, manner, or form, with all of the other layers of value to the students and the philanthropic nature of what they're trying to do. Notwithstanding, they are still finding a resource in which to, sounds so callous, but they are able to utilize our property for free, and to make it, even if it is $200, it's $200 more in their in generating funds for their cause. The Board of Finance has a cause too. They remind me of it all the time.
Prove it subject to the. Well, we could make a motion that all fundraisers, right, using town property have to be vetted and approved per the field use policy, right? But
I don't think you have to make a motion for that, because that's already in effect.
okay. All right, so I make a motion to approve this joint Live Free Trumbull High School lacrosse tournament fundraiser, subject to the field use policy, for November 22nd from 1 to 5 at McDougal and the turf field.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any discussion? Any further discussion?
Can I just,
Go ahead, Deb.
how is this going to be communicated back then? So if it's subject to this, is someone going to go back to them and then explain, and then, so they know in the future?
Yeah, I'll tell. Well, I don't know if you want to talk to Mike, but I can certainly communicate with Live Free and let them know that there'll be a fee associated with the fields, But I don't know if you want to talk to Mike about.
And let him know,
Moving
Live Free's
forward.
been good. That
Yeah.
they've been coming here for years, but he's used to renting a park
Indian
for a
Lodge,
whole
yeah.
day, and it's like $1,200 fee. It's just the field use fee for those 4 hours, so it's going to be much more minimal than what he's used to.
Yeah,
it's
true.
not because when Dee was first saying, I was like, oh, we got to hit him with a $1,200 fee. He says, no, it's just renting the field for 4 hours, so it's going to be nominal.
Yeah. You want to talk to Mike about that?
Yeah. What at least at this moment, I mean, I was spitballing a minute ago, but I think it's very important that at least through the department, representing the commission, that we speak to the Board of Ed at just inserting something on this. I mean, it's common, and we have no say if they're doing a soapbox derby, if they're doing it has nothing to do with any of those things. But once they touch the fields in some way, manner, or form, this other set of rules does kick in, and it's just an insertion. I think it just needs to be highlighted for them. And when I was even speaking to Mike, though he wasn't he wasn't overjoyed with it, because this is kind of a last minute situation for him. At the end, he goes, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, it sets the groundwork for, as you say, any number of other organizations to find a way through the back door and not pay that rate. I mean, a couple $100 is, in today's dollars, is nothing. It's 3 energy drinks and a Snicker bar. It's not going to capsize anything, but at least that's what we have to put forward to everybody that comes before us. And I don't know a way to dismiss it or make an exception without it without us being drubbed for disparate treatment to anybody else that's coming before us. It's strictly about consistency for me, and I think there's a way to do it.
I do have one question. In the event that a high school team, like let's just say high school lacrosse, wanted to run a fundraising event for the high school program on the high school turf field, would that fall under the field use policy, or is that a Board of Ed thing?
It's strictly high school on a high school field.
Raise money for the team.
For the high school itself, yeah, that's totally.
Right.
Yeah, okay. But as soon as
these.
yeah, go ahead.
So the only thing that I don't think it falls under the category of seeking permission from the commission, but I do think it needs to be scheduled through the department, and so it's just, again, we end up being that that funnel for everything. So it's taken a lot of effort to get the athletic department to not just do things at will.
Right. So permission from the scheduler, not the committee.
Correct.
Commission.
Well, it's like, do we have any issues?
Right.
Do we have whatever? Hey, we had something there. If this was just something that popped up, it's like, well, we're going to bump them. I'm like, no. If something was already booked out there, we would. It's that we're there to ensure that somebody that's followed the process has what they expected within a reasonable period of time. Not we just had this extemporaneous idea and we're just going to do a tournament next week, throw everybody off. That wouldn't be fair. So that's why they should communicate with us to see if at least everything is clear. Beyond that, no issue.
Okay. Okay, so there is a seconded motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, so moved. Okay. Any other new business? All right, superintendent's report. We have the superintendent's report. We have the ranger report, and we have the recreation director's report. Dimitri, you can expound on the superintendent's report and maybe bring the commissioners up to date on what's going to be happening to our fields with Hillcrest renovation, or the new Hillcrest build.
Yeah, that's really why I wanted to come see you all. So probably in the next couple of months, it is my intention to draft a letter and get it out to all of our leagues and participants that utilize the town fields. You too. But you get preview of coming attractions. So as things stand right now, it looks like the Hillcrest project will in some way, manner, or form be breaking ground sometime at the end, near or immediately after the school year 26. So we all have one last gasp of, the crazy spring that we generally we generally have to battle our way through, and it's no easy feat. But I'm grateful that what we're going to experience in 26 isn't what we know we're going to be experiencing in 27 and beyond. So in short, though no final plans have really been committed to, it seems very apparent that with the design requirements, some of the fire district's requirements, the costs of some of the earlier conceived ideas of how they were going to build Hillcrest, that we are going to lose with certainty. Full front of Hillcrest practice field will be gone. We will certainly lose the pit. Then it seems that they are going to be doing the geothermal wells associated for the HVAC system in that. And the direction that they will have to go to install that is heading through the JV baseball field on through the stump all-purpose field. So in some way, manner, or form, there's going to be a swath cut in that direction. I can't say for how long or to what degree, but there will be disruption and there will be a loss of play to some degree through there. Then the laydown areas and most likely the repositioning of the field is going to be moving towards varsity softball, varsity baseball. It seems that there is nothing that is going to affect either of those two fields. But the multi-purpose field areas that we flip-flop 6 ways to Sunday, beyond that, mostly the areas that Trumbull Day sits upon, 9, 13, 10, 12, they'll be gone. They're just simply going to be gone. Most likely going to be gone for at least 3 years in some way, manner, or form. Because there's no certainty of, they'll be able to encapsulate an area, let's just say the stump area, if they do all the geothermal wells, will they be able to get that all put back together again? Maybe, but that's not laid out as, a sequence of the build. We're going to rip it up, we're going to put the wells in, putting it back together again, and a year or so later we'll at least have that back. There's nothing laid out. We just know they're going to be disturbed. The thing that complicates it all is my negative attitude. No, it is that almost all of those areas are without irrigation. The only thing that actually has irrigation is obviously the pit. That's gone. And JV baseball does to a certain point. Just the infield, and that's right where they're to be cutting through. That means any of the other areas that we have developed as functioning multi-purpose field areas, you'll be starting off like 10 steps behind, because you would have to, restore those areas in such a way that it aligns itself with ideal seeding, because you can't do sod without irrigation. You could spend a $500,000 and it'll be dead inside of a month. So it could take a couple, 3 or more years to get the turf density that you currently have to play on right now. So when I say that we could be without these, or certainly the multipurpose field area, and certainly none of the replacements that are being considered after the project is complete, and that has been made very clear to me. No fields are going to be built until everything is complete. It's going to be the last thing done. Most likely, based on the build cycle, and then what's going to be required to raise and clean up the Hillcrest School, and then start the process again of turning them back into fields. I could easily see us without fields for 4 to 5 years, easily, from this summer. So now let's talk about the good news. So what happens as a result of that? All I know that we have to work with is the field use policy. So the field use policy gives the tiers. It does all of the things that we all know how they work, and that's all neat and tidy. But that means somebody's going to be on the bottom end of that. So where we try to squeeze 10 pounds of you-know-what in a 2-pound sack in the spring, there'd be no likelihood that there would be anything that resembles soccer, spring soccer, which might as well be soccer all year round. But where would we find space for spring soccer if you've essentially wiped out almost every field except for 7, the varsity soccer field, and the McDougal and 6, the court. So you've taken better than half of those field spaces out of play. Lacrosse, that's all them in the spring. So by rights, they've got to get that field space first. Rugby, and whatever else we're able to actually fit in that space. So that's just talking about the disruption as I see it on the campus. The question that you can't answer at this point is what the Scholastic program is going to do to try to preserve itself. And if the Scholastic program goes on the road, then they will be taking their tier 1 priority and moving their way into the parks. Or, they haven't been at Madison for like a bazillion years because we've made a contiguous campus. They go to Madison, everything that's going on over in Madison is going to get pushed further and further out. So there's going to be this massive ripple effect. Long and short of it is that, the tier 1s will get as much, if any, without loss. There'll be disruption to everybody, but without loss of field time. But by the time you work your way to the higher tier levels, there will physically be no field space for them to get it. So, the various, travel groups that, we generate revenue from them, and it's a big deal. They all have priority, and we recognize 1, 2, and 3, but 10 is just as important to us and the town because it's revenue that won't exist. So it's a sea change. I don't know how many people have really given it that much thought, but there is nothing in the plans right now, and I could say that with absolute certainty. Nothing in the plans and nothing that we have proposed as, potentially staving off the worst of the effects of this. Like maybe you should be building stuff now, or is in any way being considered. It is absolutely not. Nothing will be replaced until the entire project is complete. So it's going to be mighty different. Aren't I filled with joy, folks? But it's true. What do you do? You know what it is. You know what 9, 10, 11. You know that chunk.
It's a shame because I was over there the other day thinking these fields have never looked better. They're really looking good. They look great over there. Even with very little rain this year, they still looked really well.
That was all. I mean, that is, it saddens me because it's been a massive amount of work to create those fields with nothing. Those have like the deepest root system grasses. They're all engineered. It's just like work, and it's just going to get wiped off. Like flip the Monopoly board upside down, and hey, start over. You could do it again. Good luck. It's like.
So would there be any thought to upgrading the elementary school fields since you're not paying any attention for the next 5 years to the high school area?
Well, how would
4 years.
Sure. Sure. What's there that we can transform? I mean, that's
Just a space and turn it into something.
well. I mean,
Thought. Frenchtown.
the Frenchtown. It's just, we have looked at the viability of any of these properties over time, and as I was lamenting, that the loss of these turf areas, there was a time where they were like this and wavy and had holes and whatever and were half dead, and incrementally he did it himself. But you're filling it in and raising it up and seeding it out, and we're just it doesn't happen instantaneously, or certainly something that you can just transform. All of the elementary school fields are rough is a good word. Rough is a good word. I mean, if you're really looking for gopher holes and snapped ankles, yeah, party time. But we wouldn't have it. Could it be done to some degree? But they don't have enough property behind any one of the. Maybe Daniels. Maybe, but I don't think there's enough physical property to get a soccer field out of any one of them. They're on a much smaller scale. You have some field space over at Tashua, probably the one that gets talked about the most, and it's a wavy hill that terminates in a wetland. It's like, what are you gonna do with that? Like in anytime soon? It's like, I don't know.
Would JV baseball go to Unity Park?
Conceivably.
St. Joe's plays at Unity Park.
Yeah, maybe not anymore. That's my point. That's the thing.
I mean, how about Indian Ledge? With the large fence for JV baseball. The turf field could be used, but then the other soccer and lacrosse,
Yes.
everything else is
Yes. Yeah.
it's up there.
If you really tip the scale that hard, and I mean, baseball in the spring is just like miserable. I mean, and again, how do we ultimately implement the field use policy? So as it stands, it's like 1 gets everything until there's nothing left, and 2 gets everything until there's nothing left. There's no way to institute, well, we're going to give you a third of what you wanted, and we'll give the next tier, a fifth of what you wanted.
Gonna lose the girls' JV softball field also.
I don't think so. All the way to the left. You're talking about at Hillcrest. I think that stays.
That stays.
I think it does. They have never formally said, yeah, but I don't know what they're going to have as an outfield.
That's so close to Hillcrest right now. I think that would be the first one to go. It must
That's
be
the-
going
that's
the other.
Old Hillcrest.
It's going the other way.
That's Old Hillcrest. That would be. I would bet that would be affected and probably have to be closed, just because of a safe zone when they raise that school. But the new
so the new Hillcrest is going to be more the pit side.
Yes. all the way to the pit.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like directly behind it.
No.
It's going to be more towards
no.
the JV baseball field than the pit.
Yes, correct. It's intended to sit within the pit and down the hill,
Oh, okay.
but that isn't entirely the way that it's allowed to be anymore. It's got to come inward, so it's heading towards girls softball.
And the new fields would be in front on the Daniels Farm side.
The new fields would be kind of where Hillcrest is now, and where a part of the existing parking lot is right now. But it's a hit because it's taking away like this. The versatility that we've had with that campus has been mammoth, and it's been able to, get all of our various user groups, not without not without some challenges, but we generally, force everybody to get along, and we find the space to be able to, to field them as much as we can. So the intent of the letter is to, bring this, this happy message, but really to give everybody lead time. Something evil this way comes, as the story goes, and you have to be prepared for it. You should be looking out. I mean, where you are on the tier schedule. Organizations that are on the the bottom end of those tiers or are out of season are highly unlikely to have anything that they've had before. If fall sports playing in the spring or spring sports playing in the fall, it's going to go forget about it.
Which is more generated money that you're not going to get.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. That's all very true.
What about the Bill property?
So the Bill property, everybody has a dream of what that is. It's essentially a flat parcel. That is all that we were ever able to do, on the hope that it would be developed into something else. I have, and for a number of years in the capital program, requested monies for irrigation there. Now, if you don't know that, Bill's doesn't actually have water. It has a well that doesn't work. So we actually have to bring a water line into that property and then irrigation.
Isn't the problem there egress?
Oh, that's
the
the next pain. But there, if you managed or scheduled it, I mean, you're certainly not going to be using it like a, like a school. But for a game, could it be managed? Yeah, it'd be tricky. You don't have easy ingress egress for sure. I'm just talking about development of a plot of land that can help,
Would bringing back Twin Brooks be feasible?
No. Twin Brooks will never be, in my opinion, viable for athletics at all. It wasn't in the first place. You can't put that kind of fertilization in there, and literally no way that you're going to keep that as a practical field. It's a forest at this point. It's not a. I honestly, I mean, this is, I'm preaching about all things, athletics and the impact of it. But Twin Brooks is really a passive recreational park, and that suits a very important need in the community. If you're down there, you know what it is, and there's nothing else quite like it. So, putting sports in there 24/7, even if you could. I would loathe ripping up all the trees that we put in. I would be a bit disturbed and put off if we were pushing people out from playing with their kids in the flowers so we could find another space for another soccer game, because nobody at the Board of Ed, frankly, wants to take seriously that which they are dismissing so casually. And I'm not going to be nice about that, because it's been made clear for 2 years. You really are going to think about this. You really should be thinking about this. It's, it's going to affect our community of of leagues and recreational users dramatically. Yeah. No. It's all about building the school, and that's no easy feat. I'm not trying to be dismissive of it. But the two should have been discussed as one thing because it's important to this community. I still believe they should raise an area behind the Cork field and build the fields right now. Right now. Find the money, put artificial fields back there. Worth it all day. You have enough room. There is absolutely enough room to develop.
That's not wetlands back there?
It is a piece of it. Cap and trade. Nothing's impossible. Where do you think they're putting the new Hillcrest School? Right in a wetland. Just has to move. It has to be addressed. They have to do certain things to, satisfy wetland demands. But believe it or not, there is a very small area of that area that's actually wet. It's a small stream, and then beyond it is completely not designated wetlands by Field 6. So that means you would have to pipe an area from here to there. That was that was the hope, that you would build between Field 7, the varsity baseball field, and backwards, and then just turn that into at least one multi-purpose as soon as you can, and then at some day in whenever the heck it is, that day, that the natural fields are rebuilt, we're at least where we left off, without quite so much carnage to the athletic programs in town. But so that was it. I want you guys to know it. It is going to go out in some way, manner, or form. I'm sure we're going to hear from a lot of people. It's like, well, what are we going to do? And it's going to be a lengthy conversation, and I'm sure not an easy one.
Okay. Any other questions for Superintendent while you have him here? No? All right, someone want to make a motion to adjourn? Everyone, okay. Seconded? Pick two, Ab. All right, so moved. See you next month.